Cattle branding. What is it and why is it done? In this video, we're going to answer those questions. I'm taking you guys down to Grand Canyon country, to the Arizona Strip, where the Spencers have been running cattle for 4 generations. Get ready for an insider view into what is not only a tradition of American cattle ranching, but is an ancient practice as old as owning livestock.
It's crazy, guys, how much land it takes to make cattle survive out in country like this. It's pretty bare bones. Made it in right as everyone's getting back for the day.
This is my friend, Garrett Spencer, and he invited me down to help his family out with their annual gathering. When I pulled in, the Spencers were already bringing a group into their corrals. These cattle have been living on the desert all winter. The goal is to ship them to mountain pasture for the summer, but before they can load them onto a truck, there's a whole process that has to take place. Every year, the Spencer family gathers at this spot, at these corrals, to tag team a big job. Amongst these groups are new calves that have yet to be branded, have their ears marked, vaccinated, and, for the bull calves, castrated. The rest of the cattle will simply be sorted into groups and given a pour-on medicine that helps prevent ticks and other parasites. The Spencers do things as old school as you can, starting by roping a calf by the hind legs and dragging it out of the herd. The calf is then tied down by 3 legs, making it safer and easier to handle. At the end of a hot iron are the marks of a Z and an E. The Spencers use this combination to do a hip and a shoulder brand on each calf. This unique combination of marks lets everyone else know that these cattle belong to the Spencer Ranch. But why is this process necessary? Most livestock have some form of a mark because of the great need in animal husbandry to be able to identify an individual animal. Whether that's a hot brand, a freeze brand, an ear mark, or an ear tag, these can all have different meanings with different species depending on the needs of the industry. It's a practice far older than most people realize. In fact, the oldest record that we have of cattle branding traces all the way back to 2700 BC in ancient Egypt. Imagine you own a company, only the most valuable asset that you produce in this company lives outside and has 4 legs and a mind of its own. That's cattle ranching. Cattle often go where they shouldn't, and it's not uncommon for one rancher's cattle to mix with another's. This method allows ranchers a way to determine whose is whose amongst themselves. This was especially true in the Old West, when most of the land was considered open range, and animals of different ownership would mix on the open range all the time. Later, cattle branding became endorsed on a state level. The main function of this was to prevent cattle theft. Cattle rustling is still very much a problem today. In fact, it's on the rise, and the preferable target is slick cattle, or cattle without a brand. If your cattle are unbranded, there is little that livestock police can do to help you, whether they are stolen or in a dispute. A hot brand, if done correctly, is visible and will last the duration of a cow's life. On the other hand, ear tags can easily break off and often need to be replaced. Every year, tens of thousands of cattle are stolen in the United States, causing millions of dollars in losses for American ranchers. For this, it is completely necessary that ranchers apply a permanent and recognizable mark to their animals. The brand is good and burned on after a couple of seconds, but the work is not done there. Here, Whitney has given each calf a combination of vaccines. This will prevent disease throughout the cow's life. Not to mention, cattle have to be vaccinated in order to be transported. Along with that, Colby here is marking the ears of every calf. This is just another visible way to identify that these cows have gone through this process. Finally, all the bull calves need to be castrated. Castration is a removal of the testicles. If this were not done, these bull calves would grow up to be bulls. Bulls are often a danger to each other and to the rancher, and having more than is necessary in a herd is not really ideal. A castrated male is known as a steer, and steers are good for beef. In fact, the removal of the testicles has an effect on the flavor of the meat. By changing and reducing that bull's hormones and making it a steer, you create a flavor in the meat that is preferable to the consumer. When many think of castration, they think of a surgical removal of the testicles. However, majority of ranchers have long switched over to a different method. Chris here is using a tool called a bander to apply a small but thick rubber band around the top of the scrotum. The tight band restricts blood flow to the testicles, causing them to shrivel up and eventually fall off. This method of castration prevents any blood loss and greatly reduces the risk of infection. These calves are ready to be led up and loaded on a truck. Not all of these calves that need to go through this process are newborns. Many of them were born at an earlier date and therefore have had more time to grow, and are a little too big for us to tie down. The safer method to brand these calves is to stretch them out by both the hind and front feet from horseback, then do all the steps at once. After this, all the cattle are ready to be sorted and loaded onto a semi. and driven up to summer pastures. This is a large BLM lease, and the cattle are all spread out throughout it. In this rough country, the best way to find and then move these cattle to the corrals is on horseback. Every day we'd ride out and bring in another group, and then run them through the same process.
All right, Colby, so what is this area we're in here right now?
Well, so this is all BLM country. This is just the Arizona Strip, as most people call it. But everything north of the Grand Canyon, so it's just a portion of that.
There you go. And how many acres is your guys' lease?
Most of the time on the Strip, nobody really knows. Such a vast area. I mean, not really, you know, but
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how many acres ours is, but it's, I think, around 60,000 acres or something.
More than you can use.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't, you don't have, obviously, you look out, it's desert country, you know, and there's quite a bit of grass, but it's not. It takes a lot of country to, you know, feed a cow, I guess you could say.
Right.
You know, a lot of it we don't ever touch, because a lot of it, you know, you start dipping into the canyons and stuff, and it's hard to utilize, I guess.
How long has your family been out here?
Oh, my great-grandpa bought the ranch in Utah and the permit, and I think 1948 is when he kind of started everything.
Technically fourth generation in a way.
Yeah, I'd be fourth generation, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. We're still kind of on second, third, and fourth. Grandpa's still kind of involved, and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
For the first 3 days, the weather had held up pretty good for us. But while branding on the 4th day, the Arizona Strip showed us a little bit of what she's made of. For the Spencers, a little dust storm ain't enough to call it quits. This is exactly the sort of thing you just learn to put up with in this desert. Every outfit I've been on has their little things that they do differently, but some things are always consistent. It's family and friends coming together to support each other and work hard to keep their traditions alive and remember what's most important to them. I pray the Spencers' way of life will be preserved for many generations to come. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys have questions about cattle branding, please put them in the comments. We'll see if we can get them answered. Also, if you guys are ranchers, leave your favorite branding story in the comments. I would love to hear. Anything else, guys, please like and subscribe. We got more videos coming out. And if you want to support the channel, you can drop us a super thanks on YouTube, or you can go to you'rethemustang.com and donate there. We also sell t-shirts, hats, and so many other cool things on that website, guys. So go check that out. It helps support the channel a ton. Again, you guys are the best. Until the next one, adios.